Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman by heading over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hypecast mit Tom Reimann und David Bell.
Yeah, I guess we better just get started. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to another episode of Hypecast, the show where we get hyped about stuff and things. I'm your co-host, Tom Ryman.
I am your other co-host, David Bell.
I am Jason Pargin, or AKA David Wong, depending on where you're looking at my username. It just occurred to me, looking at, as we've got the stuff we were going to go over today, there's some alternate universe where we're devoting most of this episode to like the right-wing backlash to Wonder Woman 84. Because because that movie was supposed to have come out on June 5th, right? So there's some other world where that came out as normal, and then there's some anti-man scene in there, and then a bunch of like angry YouTubers made videos taking down Wonder Woman 84, and then the whole back half of this episode would be us making fun of them.
Right.
Yeah, we'd also.
The weirdest part is that would be a simpler time. Like we wouldn't know what we had.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is I miss that. I miss those little controversies where we would find these things to argue about, and that was the comfort in finding something stupid to get mad at and make fun of, because obviously the people mad at the movie make such easy targets, and they're so easy to rebut or whatever.
There's we're going to get to do a tiny bit of that later, because I saw some backlash to the games that were announced for PS5.
Oh no.
Oh good.
Yeah. So don't worry.
Before we get to that, we should talk about our producers. Jason, I don't know how familiar you are with this show, but we have some producers who are backing us that need a shout out before this all begins, and we have a new one this week named Teal Lorino. They were very specific about how to pronounce it, and I think I already messed it up.
No, I'm sure you nailed it. I can tell this is
Teal,
very important
big
to
letters. Teal Lorino. Thank you. Thank you, Teal.
Yep.
Also, thank you to another newish patron, the Midnight Patron. What patrons at midnight? That's gonna be a real bother going forward, but we'll do it.
It's a Tick reference.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah, Midnight Bomber.
Yeah.
Exploding Runes. Thank you to Exploding Runes. Classy as always. Thank you to Law Donger, PI.
Oh, man.
I just want to interrupt here.
Sure.
The art of coming up with a username only goes back like 30 or 40 years, right? To the early Usenet groups or whatever. The idea of coming up with some phrase or some... And that kind of developed on its own, right? The idea that people would have it would be some joke or pun or something like that. But that culture kind of was created from scratch. It is a delicate thing to come up with a funny username that is going to be your identity for the next however many decades. Because if it's a clever pun, you don't have to say it too many times before it just loses all meaning, and it's just your name.
Right, and you forget. Like, it's like a PlayStation account name.
Exactly.
Where it's like no one changes those, and a lot of people are starting them like when they're tiny. Like, I think of my nephew who's like, I don't know, 10, has a PlayStation account name, and it's what a 10-year-old would think of. And it's like, oh, God.
Yeah.
You might have to stick with that for a while.
And meanwhile, we've got references that are from like 1994 that, you know, like mine is probably still Mr. T ate my balls or some joke that no one has thought of since 1996. But it's like, well, you can't change it.
Yep. Yeah. You're married to mine is a name that a friend of mine tried to use in a text only MMORPG. It's Chicken Face. And we created our character and named him that, and they kicked us out immediately for not taking the game seriously.
And that's you forever.
Yeah, and that's a 25-year-old joke that only one other person understands.
Yeah. But I don't know. So far, La Donger has stayed fresh in my mind.
Oh yeah,
we're really only at like the cusp of this art of screen names too.
Yeah,
like you said, it's only been like 30 years.
The longest part, again, going to role playing games when I play a role playing video game. The part of my character creation that takes me the longest is always what dumb shit name to give him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sit there for like an hour agonizing over what I'm going to call this jackass.
It's the best part of the game.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Andrew, quote, Andrew Howe, unquote, How. Thank you, Andrew. Asking Seven.
Woo!
Which Asking Seven actually messaged me what the story is behind their name, and I forgot it.
Okay.
So
well, that'll be for next week, I suppose.
No, it won't. I will have forgotten it next week.
I'm never going to remember to do this.
No, it's never going to be a thing.
All right, I'll jump in here. Thank you to Vincent with a Y. Vampire Suspect. Thank you to Rev MD.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thanks to Dracula the Bus Driving Vampire. Thank you to HP Love Shaft. Oh man,
never gets old.
That's another one. Them and Law Donger should open their own detective agency. Thank you to John Muniz.
Thank you, John.
Jason, do you want to get the last couple?
You want in on this?
Captain Toenail.
Thank you,
but
Captain.
Now, is that like a Captain and Tennille? Is that like a 1970s reference? Or is this person so young that they actually would be shocked to find that it...
I hope this is a 68-year-old supporter.
Wavy Rancheros.
Thank you, Wavy.
Dr. Kitty MD. Now, if this person is not an actual doctor, that's actually offensive. That's like a stolen glory type thing. You do not call yourself doctor if you've not put in the work and actually gotten the degree. So if they can they send in like a photo of their degree, or how do you verify these?
Yeah,
it's pretty simple.
That would be preferable.
Mm-hmm. It's like Twitter. We have them send us copies of their driver's licenses.
Yeah. I'd also like to hope that there's some sort of cat as well, and it would just be adorable.
Makes
cat in a lab coat.
No sense that cats would have the surname Kitty. Do they all have that name? I mean, come on. Mr. DNA and Lauren Gucci.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right.
Thank you.
It's the first chunk of producers out of the way. Now we can start talking about some trailers.
Yeah, we can. This is actually a week. Jason, as you can imagine, like, there's been some slow weeks lately. But we got the trailer for Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Yeah.
Which it looks like the story of Bill and Ted plagiarizing from themselves.
Or trying to, yeah.
Trying to.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. It's so low stakes, personally.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it has been, like the last one was what, 1991? So it's been almost 30 years.
It has.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Bogus Journey was 91. I'm almost positive.
So, are you old enough to remember the period of time when everyone hated Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I wonder how many of your listeners, I don't know if your listeners are mostly children, but if it's
except for Captain Toenail, yeah, I think they all are.
if it's been that long, I don't know if some of you, because this turned around about 20 years ago with The Matrix, but prior to that, Keanu Reeves was a punchline. Mm-hmm. I mean, people hated him the way that people kind of unreasonably hated Guy Fieri. Where it was like he's a hack. He's a wooden actor. He can't act. He's only famous because he's handsome, and he like ruins all of these movies he's in, because he was in The Devil's Advocate with with Al Pacino back when he was a real actor, and he would make these serious movies. He's in Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it was like, oh, he's the worst part of every movie he's in. He's like a dead weight. And
sorry. Go on.
Well, I was just going to say, when I found out The Matrix was being made, the way I found out was a magazine making fun of it, because it was like Film Threat or some kind of edgy movie magazine. And it was like, well, they're in Australia, wherever they shot it, shooting this Keanu Reeves hacker movie because apparently they're just like desperate to lose money, because he had made a string of flops like Chain Reaction and Johnny Mnemonic, and it was known that this was a role that everybody had passed on, and it's like, oh my god, it's going to be so cringeworthy. The screenshots of these people in leather, they're like leather hacker people, like in that Hackers movie, and oh my god. And when that movie came out, just as soon as it did, the whole feeling toward Keanu changed completely, and now everyone loves him. He's revered as like the best guy in Hollywood, and that is all it took one really well-made movie that just fit him perfectly, where he was playing a befuddled man and somehow was mastered that role, and that was it. Now everyone loves him. That's all.
He's a perfect.
He had another lull actually, for like after the last Matrix movies. He didn't really do much, and then it was like it like there was another Keanu-sance when John Wick came out, and everybody's like, oh yeah, we love Keanu.
Yeah, I think the secret is there's a lot of actors where you look at and you're like, man, I wish you never got Twitter. I would have liked you if you didn't get Twitter, or like these people who, like, the moment they get interviewed, you're like, oh. Keanu's like the opposite, where it's like, if you just look at his films alone, you kind of need the interviews and to know who he is, because he only seems to work when they throw him into these action roles where it's just like really good action, because he's after the Matrix, like he mostly just became like a stuntman who can act.
Like his biggest movies are all action movies, like Point Break, Speed, The Matrix, the John Wick movies.
And you have to use him. You have to use him the right way.
And then Bill and Ted.
And then Bill and Ted. Johnny Mnemonic, thinking about how that happened in 95 and then The Matrix came out in 99. And like, who would have thought that would have been a good movie? It just seems like, I don't know, perfect recipe for disaster to see Keanu Reeves in another hacker movie. But yeah, you put him like, I don't know, you put him across from Winona Ryder or Dracula, it's going to be a disaster.
And well, the funniest moments in Dracula are the scenes when it's just Keanu and Gary Oldman.
Right. Devil's Advocate is the same way. Don't put
Keanu and Al Pacino. But Al Pacino's doing a thing in the Devil's Advocate.
Well, yeah.
I love that movie, but Keanu is so out of place in it, because look, if you're going to have Al Pacino playing the devil, then that apprentice lawyer role, that's got to be Nick Cage.
Yeah,
you've got to have those two. It's got to be Nick Cage arguing with the devil. I'm sorry, that's not a Keanu Reeves movie, but it's fascinating how Hollywood doesn't know how to use these people. And like, there's the thing with Brad Pitt where they kept trying to figure out how to make Brad Pitt a superstar because he looks like a superstar. But he's not. He's like a character actor. But because he looks like Brad Pitt, it's like, well, this guy should be Batman. It's like, what in the hell is he doing with playing these weird roles? But it's the same thing with Keanu Reeves. Like, oh, this guy, he's got to be like in these romantic comedies. It's like he's got to be the romantic lead. And it's like, well, no, actually, a role where he doesn't have to talk all that much, where he's kind of the strong, quiet type, or he's been confused into silence. That's really.
It's where he shines.
Yeah, and I love him. Gosh, the John Wick movies are a gift to the world. I'm not criticizing him at all. It's just, it's got to be strange from that end to be in Hollywood and know how fickle audiences are, that they can just decide all at once. I remember Will Smith giving this interview where he's like, when Wild Wild West came out, he's like, suddenly everyone hated me. He's like, I hadn't been mean to anybody. He's like, I hadn't been in trouble. I was nice to the reporters, but all of a sudden it's like, it was cool to just crap on me. He's like, I was just always trying to make the best, most fun movie I could. And that movie came out as like, oh, I had Will Smith. He's a cancer on the world. Why did we ever like him? It's like, it was just like all at once the audience decided it would be more fun to hate him. And now he's mostly, they're fine again.
Yeah, all it took is one movie. Although he hasn't lately, man. His last movie was Gemini Man, right?
Yeah. Oof.
That was rough.
Yeah, that was great.
The other person that comes to mind is Colin Farrell. Is another one that everybody was like, this guy has to be a leading man or like an action role, and it's like, no, he's just really funny. It's like he's just really good in comedies.
Right? Yeah, just make him a bizarre weirdo. That's where he really shines. Carve a bullseye into his head. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Send him out there.
Any other thoughts on Bill and Ted?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, one is that obviously between Bill and Ted, both these guys are in their 50s. Alex Winter looks like he's in his 50s. Keanu Reeves, depending on the scene, looks like he's like 35. One of them has not aged at the same rate. But the other thing was, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh yeah, Alex Winter. He's still alive," and so went to look him up because I remember. Did either of you guys watch The Idiot Box in its brief run on MTV?
No.
I remember it, but I never saw it.
Yeah, it was a crazy sketch comedy animated show that came out after Bill and Ted, and when Alex Winter was having his moment, because again, at the time Bill and Ted came out, it was not obvious that one of these guys is going to go on to become a superstar and the other will fade into obscurity. And then Alex Winter got like $15 million to make a comedy called Freaked that they just did a Red Letter Media review of, because it's this forgotten cult classic that's now like completely out of print. But it was so bad, or so it bombed so hard they didn't release it. Like they gave him, that was a decent sized budget for a comedy in 1993, and they didn't put it in theaters. Like they just dumped it to VHS. That's how, and then his career was over just like that.
Right, and it's a shame because Freaked is great.
But I can't
Michael
say...
Swaim recently turned me to Freaked.
Oh yeah, Swaim loves that movie. I can't say that Freaked is not a movie I can ever picture being in a movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's the point though, is that they gave him the money and it's like, go make your crazy, off the wall comedy. These are the 90s. This is going to be the extreme decade. People like weird stuff, and then he came back with that. It's like, oh no, not this.
Right.
Oh no, we didn't want this. You can take
this is
back.
Not what we meant at all. So, but I mean, it's got incredible makeup work and puppet work, and it's got some great gags in it. But so and then you look at his IMDb, there's like a period of 6 years after that where he did nothing. He directed like a series of video shorts, like one a year, and I always ask, like, did he have to get a job during that time? Did he go work as like a salesman in a video store or a furniture store or something? What did he do? I'm fascinated by the way in Hollywood you can just not do anything for half a decade and then just come back. It's like, well, yeah, but what? You didn't get paid that much for Freak, did you? Did you just keep all the money? I don't know. I guess that's my life goal, is be able to take half a decade off if I feel creatively burnt out, to just chill out for 5 years.
Maybe he was getting some sweet Bill and Ted and Lost Boys residuals.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Would he? I mean, is that how that works?
I don't know.
Do you just keep getting checks forever?
I think you get a small amount of money every time it plays on TV. I think.
Huh.
I'm not sure.
It doesn't seem like enough. I don't know. That's a good question.
I've heard actors mention that, like, I got like a check for like a couple cents.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but you're living in LA for 5 years, and I don't know. See, I'm just probably showing my ignorance. There's probably all sorts of editing work and stuff you could just pick up that doesn't show up on IMDb. But
Yeah, I do think a lot of actors, are, if they're good with money, they might do stuff like, like open a restaurant, like not make it anything like flashy or themed, or where it's just they quietly own a restaurant, or invest in like something that just makes them money, an apartment building or something like that. I've heard of that before, where a lot of these actors where you don't think about for a while, it's like, oh, that's what they've been doing. They've just been quietly like using that money to invest in other businesses to keep them afloat.
Can you imagine if Alex Winter was your landlord?
Oh, God.
Yeah. Or if it turns out there is an Alex Winter restaurant, let's go to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's find it and go there.
It's like Hard Rock Cafe, only every decoration is Alex Winter themed.
Yes.
Yeah, some Alex Winter project from the last 30 years. Anyway.
Let's get to the next trailer. Which is You Should Have Left.
Yeah.
This is a Kevin Bacon horror movie about a haunted house that isn't Stir of Echoes.
No. And Amanda Seyfried. I think we're getting her for an interview tied to this movie.
Cool.
I think tomorrow, or actually today when this airs.
You mean Collider?
Collider, not Dave.
No.
Yeah, not me and Dave.
I should make that very clear.
She's not calling us. Yeah, this is a trailer. Like, I was into it for the first minute, and then the second minute happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, we're doing like ring ghosts again. We're doing this again.
The term I wrote down in the notes that I'm like, oh, that perfectly sums it up as wet ghosts.
Yeah.
Just ghosts that are always wet in these movies. They're always like moist and angry, and you see the back of their heads, and they have long hair.
They all have waist-length long hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for some reason, a wet dude is not as scary as it would be in real life. You'd be much more worried about a wet dude in your house than, if there's like a wet little girl in your bathtub, you're more worried about going to jail. It's not so much, my house is haunted. Where if there's a big wet dude in there, that's when it's his house now.
Right, and there could be a whole horror movie.
You just quietly move out.
Yeah.
But that would be a great horror movie, just called The Wet Dude. And there's just this wet dude in your house.
Can you imagine, instead of like the long-haired woman ghost in the ring, it's like there's just this wet, swole dude.
Yeah.
There's so much to be said about, I guess, the psychological underpinnings of the wet, either old woman or, because there's been 150 of these movies by now, where it's either a child with long hair draped over her face, or a woman submerged in a bathtub, or something, or they see her in the water. And I think that imagery even came up in the Lighthouse, maybe. But that has become a staple going back to, I guess, the 90s. When was The Ring?
Oh,
99.
Yeah, maybe even a little before that, because The Ring was off of Japanese horror.
Of course. Are the origins, is that a Japanese thing? Is that some Japanese cultural, is there mythology or something that they borrowed that from?
Yeah, I'm going to say with absolutely no research prior that I think so. But
right, because it's The Ring,
idea.
it's The Ring and The Grudge both kind of made that popular, at least in Western countries.
Right, and in Japan, they did a Freddy versus Jason of those characters.
Yeah, they did.
I have not seen it, but
I honestly don't know which one would win.
I don't know. I hope they just fist fight.
Yeah,
I hope it's just really.
It's just not
really
at all
rough.
Supernatural. It's just like a WrestleMania match.
Just duking it out. Yeah. Yeah. This I don't know. I see every horror movie, so I'll see this. But
yeah,
I liked the idea of a house that I like it when horror movies do something creative, and I liked it first when the house is screwy. And I thought it'd be cool if the idea is it's like you never see anything. It's just the house is messing with them in some weird way.
Yeah, I did like that. The scene where Kevin Bacon measures the room from the inside of the house and then measures it from the outside of the house and discovers that it's 5 feet bigger on the inside. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then they throw a wet ghost at us.
And then it's just ghost.
I'm going to say right now that the screenwriter came up with this, that is the first scene he wrote. And that when he pitched it, that's the scene he pitched. These people move into a house, a guy's measuring it for some reason and finds out that the inside is 5 feet bigger than the outside. Like, that's such a weird hook. But then you watch this trailer, and the trailer is like 3 minutes long, and it walks through every reveal where it's like, that cuts to a woman saying, "You're in purgatory. You're being judged for the things you did in this house." It's like every twist is just rolled out in the trailer. It's like, well, okay.
Right.
I would have just... A trailer that was just him measuring his house and realizing the inside's bigger than the outside and showed me nothing else, I'd probably watch that movie because I was like, man, that's weird as hell. I want to see. I want to see what's causing that.
Right.
Yeah, it's like they have the bit where it's like he's like, somebody's written in my journal, and then we see him at the end of the trailer. We see him from like the future walk into a room where his past self is sitting at the desk. I'm like, oh, well, you just showed us that he's writing in his own journal, so there goes that. Like.
Yes,
right.
They show you everything. They're like, oh, they even are like he probably killed his wife, and that's why he's being judged in this house.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, his wife's ghost.
I'm assuming.
I worry that we're spoiling the movie for people now, but we're just describing the trailer.
It's just the trailer.
Right. Unless everything that we've just discussed is in like the first 20 minutes, and then there are like 36 more twists after that.
There are those films.
Like a dinosaur comes and crushes the house. It's like, wait, we've traveled back to dinosaur times.
Yeah, there are those films where the rare films where when they give it to the ad agency, they're like, we have no idea how to actually make a trailer for this, so we'll just do the most like stereotypical, like cliche version of the story that we can cram into the trailer, and then it ends up being something completely crazy. So maybe that's what this is. Doesn't seem like it though.
I will say, if I love his, and in the trailer, for the people who have not watched it, and they probably have not, the scene where he's measuring the house and he goes in, he's got like his little daughter with him, and he measures and he goes outside and measures. He's like 21 feet inside or 21 feet outside, 26 feet inside. And the little girl's like, what does that mean? He's like, the house is bigger on the inside than the out. She said, like, how is that possible? He's like, it shouldn't be possible. Okay. In real life, if either of you, if your landlord or somebody called and said, hey, I need you real quick while you're on the phone, I need you to measure the exterior and interior and exterior. I've got a guy's coming, he's going to put it down carpet or something. If you went and you measured it, interior comes at 26 feet, exterior is 21 feet. How many times would you have to remeasure before you would out loud say to somebody, the inside is much larger than the outside?
I think I would spend a couple days on it.
Yeah. And also, when I come to terms with that fact, it wouldn't be like, oh, it shouldn't be like it wouldn't be that gentle.
I'd call somebody.
I would get so incredibly angry with myself that I was messing up the measurement every time. I would beat myself up so much that I wouldn't be able to talk to anyone. Because like this simple task of me measuring my house, I'm somehow coming up like 7 feet off. I think eventually I would just lie and say, well, the inside shows it's 26, so the outside's going to be like 28 or something like that. Like I would just throw it on there because I would never admit that was the case. But because it's a horror movie and audiences know they're watching a horror movie, so they're not going to be super patient with the character just forever refusing to acknowledge what's going on. So there's always that awkward moment in the horror movie where the characters have to accept that my Dodge Charger is possessed by Hitler. Like they've got to have that conversation and acknowledge this is what's going on. He's just super casual about it. I don't know. That's fine.
I feel like you could, the movie could spend like an hour of him measuring and then like a half hour of him like going to the doctor. Cause that would be my next thing is if I couldn't figure it out, I'd be like, is there something wrong with my brain right now?
Right. Like I'm having some kind of weird stroke. Like it would take me a very, very, very long time to be like, well, my house is a demon. Like
it's not off the list completely, but it's low on the list.
Or I would exhaust every other possibility.
Much less interesting, just your tape measure is possessed. Right. It just gives you the wrong numbers all the time, and that's all it does.
That's the limit of the haunting.
Yeah, that's the only thing it knows to do.
Well, it can pinch your finger, too, if you get the right angle. That's about it.
You zip it back in, and it pinches your finger, and you hear like a ghost laughing.
Right, and then you just put it in a drawer, and you're like, just no one use that.
Yeah, it's haunted.
It's the haunted one, but use the other one.
Yeah. I wrote an H on it for haunted. Don't use the haunted one.
All right. Next trailer is for Mad Heidi. This is not a big one. I don't think many people have watched this trailer.
No.
It's got that like Kung Fury feel.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. It's like a super over the top. They call it the first Swissploitation film about basically the St. Pauli's girl fighting a bunch of Swedish Nazis.
Sure.
Well, is the movie out? The trailer, this YouTube embeds from 2018. This was part of like their crowdfunding thing. Did the movie get made?
Yeah. I think it hit up some festivals, and I think it just like I've seen this happen with indie films where like they'll sort of I'm looking it up now, making sure I didn't accidentally put in a trailer that's old. No, it has a projected release date of 2020. Yeah. I've seen this before where indie films, they have to like take a really long time to roll out. So the trailer will be around for a while, and then it'll do maybe festivals. But it's officially coming out this year now. So I think they've been trying to work on it for a while. It's a crowdfunded one. I was considering this for our more hype section, but I'm not.
I don't know. I don't. This is a fine. The tone that this movie is trying to strike is a very fine line.
That's why I didn't put it on more hype, because it's like I don't know.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
It could go in the direction of like Dead Snow, which I think is I like that movie. I think that one works, or it could go in the direction of like Kung Fury, which I don't think works. Well,
this is produced by the Iron Sky people.
Yeah, and I'm sick of ironic Nazis, particularly right now.
Yeah.
I kind of hated this trailer.
Sure.
Not into it.
But any project like this where it's a group of people like crowdfunding it and trying to get it together with like no support from anyone, I automatically kind of root for it. This is clear. Right. This is not my thing at all. This tone is not my thing, but it's super hard to make a movie, and I do not doubt that when they wrote the script and started storyboarding all the stuff out and started the process, it was long before Trump probably. It's like we've said, this was 2 years ago for this trailer, and they had already had stuff to shoot for the trailer, obviously, so this was pretty far into production. So I hope they make their money back. I hope they're able to make more stuff. We've got another one down the list in the hype section that's that I think it's kind of the same thing. It doesn't look like my cup of tea, but I am thrilled that movies can get made this way and look like movies. And that's great, because this is an absurd amount of labor. If anyone could see what goes into making a movie, you would automatically be nicer to everyone who's ever made one.
Right. Even the shitty one. Like, they're so hard to make. They take so much work.
They take so much planning, which is why I get amazed when a really big budget movie, like that's why I got amazed at like how Rise of Skywalker has these big weird holes in it, where it's like, man, this is a lot of work. You guys had to sit and think about this for a while, and you had so much money. How did you not make this work? It's even more impressive to me.
And especially that movie where you can see that they cobbled together a different plot in the editing booth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just picture the pure panic meltdown of multiple people when they realized they did not shoot the stuff that they needed. And so you can see where they had like dubbed in redub scenes, like the characters being shot from behind, or they put in a shot that's clearly from a different part of the movie to try to cobble together a sequence. And the stress of doing that, knowing that this may be like the last Star Wars movie, and the reaction from the fans if you get this wrong, that's got to be rough.
Right.
And I remember there's an interview with Shia LaBeouf, which may be that one where they eat the chicken wings while they're talking. Mm-hmm. People have not seen that. People have not seen that. Think I'm nuts. First thing, but he was talking about, because they asked him about like working with Michael Bay. Michael Bay, obviously infamously crazy and kind of like a symbol of everything that's wrong with Hollywood.
Right,
and,
he's a notorious tyrant.
Yeah, and Shia LaBeouf, was in multiple Transformers movies and then just got written out of the series, even though he was allegedly...
They sort of just kind of say he's dead in that weird King Arthur one.
Because it's, and almost like Michael Bay making the point that you're not the star. The CGI is a star. But Shia was saying, he's like, it's incredible being on those sets. He goes, because you got to understand, a production like that, it is an all-star team of the best sound people, lighting people, the best carpenters, the best set dressers, the best costumers. Like, these are Oscar winners. These are, the people doing the soundtrack, all of that behind the scenes stuff. They are the best of the best. And he's like, it's just so cool because 99% of the production is those people. It's the people destroying that street to get the debris laying around for the aftermath of the fight scene, and the people that, that do that stuff just right and make it so, because his effects work is fantastic and his camera work is fantastic. And that's not just Michael Bay. That's Michael Bay. He is very careful about who he works with. It is sad that the end result is, God, that King Arthur Transformers movie is one of the worst things.
It's amazingly bad.
The sheer waste of talent is almost mind-boggling. That, like, Anthony Hopkins could be doing anything,
but it's for those reasons you say. It's not for us. It's for Anthony Hopkins to get paid to basically be on the equivalent of Disney.
Yeah, you can see
where
that.
He's like, I get to see all this amazing, like, explosions and technical feats behind the scenes. It must be a blast to work on. The result is just... Doesn't he have a robot butler in there?
Yeah,
sure
a C-3PO style comic relief. And a Michael Bay comic relief character. There's really nothing else in Hollywood quite like that. I realize we're getting very far off track here. I just...
Oh, it's Hypecast. That's what we do.
The point I was trying to make is that these big polished productions, like, you don't think about all of these people putting in these very long days who did their jobs perfectly. Like the sound mixing in a Michael Bay movie, like, you don't sit there and realize, oh, this is done beautifully, because it's done in the service of a slapstick comedy scene with a tiny robot, like, humping John Turturro's leg. But on the other hand, the paycheck that John Turturro got for doing that, he then could turn around and make some indie movie that, you'd like, well, you should be in stuff like this all the time. I was like, well, The reason he can pay the rent is because he occasionally will be in a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, you could see that. You could see that little twinkle in Anthony Hopkins' eye, where he's just like, "I'm getting $5 million for this."
Yes, and then he can just tweet videos of him with his cats for the rest of his life.
Every 4 months, he tweets a video of his cat.
I was on set for 3 days.
No, John Turturro wept during the filming of the second one, and it was because they let him stand on the pyramids to film, and he was like, when do you ever get to do this?
Yeah.
And it's like,
I would take that job too.
Yeah, if someone was like, look, here's the pro, you get to stand on a pyramid. Here's the con, it's for a scene where a giant robot's testicles are hanging over your head. Will you do it? It's like, of course I will.
Oh, yeah. It's please, no one listening to this, if anyone on this podcast were for some reason got a call and like, hey, Michael Bay, he's a huge fan somehow from the crack days. He wants you to do, like, it'll be $300,000 and it's a weekend and it's a scene where a robot ejaculates in your face. It's like a comic relief thing. He thinks that'd be a funny bit. And it's $300,000. It's 1 weekend of work. If any of you think we would turn that down,
I would 100%. I would do it.
Yeah.
And
I might do that for nothing. to be in a Michael Bay film,
Right?
Yeah.
where a robot ejaculates in my face. I mean,
I might do it for a couple of days stay in Maui or wherever they film it. I'm like, yeah, sure. If I can snap my neck with that robot cum, I don't care.
Yeah.
The other people in the scene, it's like Anthony Hopkins and Al Pacino, and it's like there's like 12 Oscars on the screen with you at the same time, and then you're the guy that the robot ejaculates on. It's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, in a way, that's like kind of art in its own thing. Like it's incredible. It's like a weird performance art. Like, yeah, why not?
Sure. Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's Mad Heidi.
That's Mad Heidi. Let's get to the Five Bloods.
Yeah.
This is Spike Lee's movie, which honestly we should have been covering this trailer like a month ago. It popped up on me personally. I'm a big fan of Spike Lee films, and it was one of these things where it's like, oh shit, he's making a movie and it's coming out Friday.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
it's a gift. So this is coming out like today.
Yeah, it'll be on Netflix
this.
today as you're listening to this.
The streaming era is so weird because we're sitting here talking about the trailer, and the people listening to this can just open up another tab in their browser and watch the full movie.
Yep.
Right.
For free because it's on their Netflix. It's such a weird, because normally trailers, it's like, well, this is going to get me out of the house. Is this worth like getting a babysitter and all going to the theater? And it's like, oh, is this worth me clicking once and opening another browser window to just watch the movie instead of listening to these people?
Or at the absolute maximum, walking into another room in your house or apartment to watch the movie. This was supposed to come to theaters, wasn't it? And then
yes, yeah, this got dumped to streaming due to the pandemic.
Yeah, this looks good.
Yeah, I mean,
this should have been. To be clear, this should have been will be like an Oscar movie, or it was with this cast and with the subject matter. This clearly is intended to be an award type thing. This is this is not. I worry people are going to see this on their Netflix menu next to that Happy Madison movie that just came out, the David Spade comedy. It's like, oh, it's more Netflix chunks. Like, no, this was supposed to come out in theaters. You'll be hearing about it at Oscar time. This is like a big serious movie.
Remember when there was a debate of whether or not Netflix could have Oscar contending films? That was like a thing.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened and the debate was finished very quickly.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, no question.
Well,
I think Roma is what did it.
Just to catch people up, do they still have that rule where it has to play on some screens before it's eligible?
They are.
Did they lift
Academy
that?
Awards and the Golden Globes are temporarily suspending that rule.
Okay.
It's not permanent as of yet, but I suspect after we have an award season where 90% of the movies were released on streaming and never in theaters, that they might be like, all right, what are we hanging on to here?
Yeah. I'm not. Well, I shouldn't say I don't know what this film's about because it appears to be
pretty clear. It's a platoon
of black
guys
soldiers
who
in Vietnam and them as adults.
Well, they bury
older.
they bury some gold while they're in the war, and then they return decades later to try to recover it.
It's Spike Lee's second war film. Did anybody see Miracle? Was it Miracle at St. Anna?
Yeah, I have not seen it, but that is the title.
I really enjoyed that film. Like, he can shoot war. That's one of the things that fascinates me about Spike Lee is that his movies are always kind of weird. They're not like Tarantino, but they have that Tarantino feeling where they're like, you can feel that Spike Lee is there in the movie with you.
Yeah, he does.
Sometimes literally.
Yeah, he does. He has. Like I
see weird creative choices.
Right. He has very
post
unique flares to his directing style. So I wouldn't exactly compare him to Tarantino, like you're saying.
Well,
but.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Right,
where it's you're watching a Spike Lee film.
It's identifiably
But then every
him.
now and then, like Inside Man is just a straight up like thriller.
That to me, that's his oddest film.
Miracle at St. Anna is the same, where it's like kind of just a war film, and it's like Spike Lee every now and then being like, "Yeah, I can just make a movie too, and it'll be great." because I think Inside Man's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
And this one... Go ahead.
Oh, no, you. Now you.
This one, the subject matter is really interesting because they're going back to modern day Vietnam. It takes, so there's like a 50-year gap where they're flashing back to when they were fighting the war, and then it keeps coming back to them as, men in their, however old they would be now, in their 60s or whatever.
70s, probably, yeah, 60s. 70s.
Yeah. And in modern day Vietnam is, because obviously we lost the war, that, North Vietnam fell to the communists, but Vietnam as a country, like today, there's a booming tourism industry there for American veterans going back and visiting their old battlegrounds. So they mention, or they briefly you see in this trailer where they go to this Apocalypse Now dance club that is decorated with like Vietnam era stuff, and it's kind of it's like an unlicensed Apocalypse Now. They just borrowed the logo from the movie. That's a real place, and people go back there, and you can buy souvenirs and stuff from the war, and you get tour guides from old guys who fought on the other side. It's very strange.
It makes me think about how there's just a lot of people who, like, the age of nostalgia for them, they were like, part of it was they were fighting a war. So I can see the idea of going back to these places, like, because I do that. When I visit a hometown, I go back to like bars or places where I'm like, oh yeah, I used to be here. So they must have just so many strong memories there that they want to go back to.
Yeah, and especially when, a piece of land that was like a fortress, you were a post you were stationed at for 6 months, and it was, part of this valley that you fought over, and it was just this blasted hellscape, and now there's like a Chick-fil-A there. And,
right.
And, it's just got to be eerie.
If you've ever visited Gettysburg, it's the same way, where like there's buildings that's like a subway, and then it has like marks from cannon fire in the top of it. Because it's just like, yeah, we can't replace the building. It's a historical landmark, but it still has to be a business.
We can put a subway in it.
Yeah. I mean, what else are we going to do?
Yeah.
It's very surreal.
Also, the thing that a little confusing if you see this trailer, which is when they flash back to the 60s or whenever the Vietnam era, the actors, it's the same actors. They didn't cast younger actors.
They did?
And
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, if you go, there's articles about it, and in fact, I pasted one into our notes here. They did not de-age the actors. The same, so it kind of would appear from the trailer to be a time travel movie if you don't know what it's about.
Oh, man.
Because they asked Mike Leigh, like, why didn't he de-age them? And he said, because unlike The Irishman, they did not give me $100 million to de-age the actors, so you're just going to have to suspend your own disbelief. But did not want to cast like younger actors. So it's the same guys in the age they are, also playing themselves at 19. So it's
choice.
Apparently it's fine. There's reviews out for it. It's apparently a fantastic movie. It's, for me, that's the kind of thing I might find distracting, but I found a lot of The Irishman distracting too. So
right. That was almost more distracting in The Irishman.
I am in the minority opinion on The Irishman. I appreciate that other people think it's a good movie.
They spent an astonishing amount of money on that movie.
I enjoyed the film, but I mean, our review of it, we talked about it, is that watching a supposedly like 30-year-old Robert De Niro move like a 70-year-old man is very obvious.
Yeah.
I don't know with this film, like, I don't know how this works. Maybe this is very ignorant of me, but can they, like, if the movie does really well, then, like, can they just spend some more money and make them old?
Probably.
It's Netflix, man. You could just replace the film.
Yeah.
And just be like, all right, here's a better version. We did it.
They released the DLC.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Movies need DLC now.
Oh man,
screw it.
It's nice. It's nice to see Delroy Lindo in movies again. He hasn't been in anything in a minute.
Now, what would I have seen him in?
Congo. He's the guy that shouts at Tim Curry to stop eating his sesame cake. Broken Arrow, Gone in 60 Seconds, I think he's in. He was in a lot of movies in like the night. Oh, Get Shorty.
Okay. He was in The Core.
Okay, yeah. I just those names, those titles have told me who this is. So I actually know exactly who you're talking about.
The One.
He is in The One. That's true.
Remember The One? Yeah. All right, so I think that's it for trailers.
Yeah.
We can probably get into our news story section, but first we have more producers.
Oh yeah, let's get through them.
Start with Bootler Bootleson. Never gonna get that right the first time. Nope. Thank you, Bootler. Grumblebee. Thank you to Grumblebee. Thank you to Tux. Nice and simple. Woo. Feels good to say.
Yeah.
Tux.
Just get it out there.
Mm-hmm. Also, Welsowski. Thank you, Welsowski. And nod to what's coming out this weekend. Thank you to Shepard Mulch Diggums.
Mm-hmm. Of Artemis Fowl fame.
Of Artemis Fowl, which we might watch.
According to Rotten Tomatoes, one of the worst movies ever made, apparently.
Yes, it is getting hideous reviews.
That getting dumped to streaming probably saved some people's careers, because if it's just on Disney Plus, it's not at all clear what they lost or gained, right? Because it's just thrown on the pile of, like, you know, they're only looking at subscribers. So yeah, somebody's ass was saved by the pandemic. And when they saw the final cut of this thing, they had to have thought, man, I hope some sort of worldwide collapse forces us to just dump this, and it won't be my fault, because
I hope a biblical plague covers this up for me.
I mean, that movie cost $125 million and has Judi Dench in it.
Yeah, a confused Judi Dench.
From reading, and I know you're still reading the producers here, but just looking at the reviews from it, it also appears to be one of those things where by the time they got out of the editing booth, they had like 78 minutes of movie there's like entire sections of story missing and entire plot threads that just don't make any sense, because there's like 8 books, but they only agreed to make one movie, and they just threw in various scenes that don't connect to anything. And it's one of those things where it seems like by the end there's like, oh my God.
Well, it was originally supposed to come out a year ago, and they bumped it back.
You know those scenes where like a character is in surgery and then the doctor comes out and everybody looks and he shakes his head? Like it's that, but an editing booth. Like every time this happens, there's just a group of producers and some just haggard editor comes out and it's just like, I couldn't save it. Sorry.
I did everything I could.
Yeah.
We'll have to put it on Netflix.
If I cut any more, it will not legally qualify as a feature film. So I know I've got stuff in there that doesn't work, but I'm telling you, if I only left in the stuff that would work, it would be trailer length.
They could always pull a master of disguise and just put like 10 minutes of deleted scenes and outtakes over the credits. Okay, we got Norm from Cheers, Davey Francis, Chancy Pants,
Davey, Chancy,
Base McNulty, Captain Fat Strong, and Hiram. Thank you to those guys. Jason, you want to grab the last couple?
Oh, great. It's that guy. That's my favorite genre of username. It's like a Lef Bob Grenville, Nolan Matten,
I believe.
I think he corrected us.
Okay.
Did he correct us?
He did, yeah.
Oh, I haven't listened to that. All right.
Joshua Graves. That's a pretty cool name. If you got a cool name like that, you can probably just use your real name.
Yeah.
We had a writer at Cracked whose real name was David Knight. And it's like he was always trying to come up with like a better pseudonym. It's like, you have the coolest name. Yeah. Why do you need a fake one? Like
it's like an actor's
yeah,
name.
like David Knight is the stage name you would come up with if your real name was like Berkowitz or something, and you thought, well, I'm not going to get famous with that. So
Yeah.
And then Normal Man Andrew Maguire.
Oh,
yeah,
man, thanks.
our most suspicious patron.
Yep. That doesn't raise any eyebrows.
Mm-hmm. So for stories, we mainly were just going to go over. Jason, this was your idea, and I really liked it. Is just talk about everything that was supposed to come out this summer, and when it's now coming out.
Yeah,
and it is madness.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, because I didn't realize, because I saw that they were making a joke on somebody's YouTube channel. They're talking about that Wonder Woman got delayed. It was supposed to, as I mentioned, come out June 5th, a week ago. And they pushed it back to August. But I guess all of the tie-in products, like the Wonder Woman branded Doritos and stuff.
Oh yeah, those are still on the shelves.
They had, that stuff has to be planned months in advance, right? You got to print that stuff up. You got to reserve shelf space. Like, this is all carefully orchestrated. And again, there's some poor product coordinator behind the scenes who has had 4 heart attacks by now, trying to can we hold those? It's like, well, no, the Doritos do not last that long. They're going to get stale. You have to put those on the shelf. It's like, yeah, but the movie's not out. Anyway, so that got bumped back to August 14th. I guess I ignorantly thought that all of the big summer movies were just kind of in that holding pattern where it's like, well, once the theater chains reopen in July, it'll vary state by state. But since we've just declared we're not going to worry about the pandemic anymore.
Right, we just decided it was over.
They will dump them into late summer. But that, of course, is crazy. There's not enough screens, and there's not enough. You've got to have time to ramp up the marketing. So when I went through and I found an article on Vulture where they just have a list where everything was moved, a bunch of the big movies just got bumped next year. Like they took kind of the core of this summer's movies and that's now just summer 2021. And we can kind of run through the list if you want, or I can run through these, or if one of you wants to, or
no, you.
Yeah, I mean, some of the ones that stuck out to me, I
remember the first big one was Fast and Furious 9.
Yeah.
Because they were, I think right before that, Bond had announced that it was going to, No Time to Die was like, well, it was supposed to come out in April, and they're like, we're pushing it to December, I think. And then Fast and Furious, which is supposed to come out in May, was just like, we're coming out in April of 2021. It's like, jeez.
Yeah. But see, I don't know if the listeners realize these movies have to kind of work around each other, because if they're being released by the same studio, because there's only 3 studios left now, right? Because if you're Disney, anything that's Fox is also Disney. So you can't step on your own. If you've got an action movie coming out, you've got to give yourself a few weeks of runway, or else you're just competing against yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because again, screens are limited. There's only so many theaters. There's only so many screens, and you're fighting with other. And so if you find out that somebody is releasing James Bond on the same weekend you were going to release Fast and Furious, you'll shuffle around because you want some breathing room. So I think that's what happened here, where they started looking at the calendar, I would assume, and just said no. Because, for instance, some of these, we'll go down the list, but some of these just got moved to holiday season because that's the other big movie season. So some of these got pushed November, something like that. And they probably just were like, no, there's no slots. So no, we're just going to screw it. But that, and then that, the other, is The Rock not in Fast and Furious 9?
No, he's not.
Okay. So
What?
The Rock, the Jungle Cruise movie, their big budget, another where they decided that because Pirates of the Caribbean made a bunch of money, that they can just turn any ride into a franchise.
We're not learning the lesson of the Haunted Mansion.
Right.
No.
But that got bumped back. I don't know what they spent on that, but it's probably a lot. But that was supposed to be July. Now it's July 2021.
Yeah, they basically gave Jungle Cruise's release date to Mulan, because Mulan was supposed to come out in March, and they're like, well, and then I think Jungle Cruise moving pushed a Marvel movie back. Like they reshuffled their entire schedule.
It's wild because it feels like we're just skipping a year.
Yeah.
like this is going to be a year that we've just decided to do over again. I think I proposed just naming next year 2020.
Yeah, we just pretend this one doesn't
and just
happen.
Like, yeah, because we really screwed up this year. We should take a mulligan on this, but whatever. It's that one. The one that really hit me out of this list is freaking Candyman, because out of all these movies, that's the one that I'm really excited for. And in my head, I had this weird thought of like, well, I don't know. It feels like I keep hoping that a lot of these will change because they're just actually waiting until we know when it's time to reopen everything, because it's so on the fence. And then there's the fact that, like, I know in Texas they were like, movie theaters, you can reopen now, and the movie theaters were like, why?
Yeah, there's nothing
like,
out.
Yeah. So it's like that's what's crazy about it, is that like McDonald's and chain restaurants and retail stores, they can roll out slowly, and that's how they make their money. With movie theaters, it's like, well, no, either we all open at once, or we stay closed, because there's no point in being open otherwise.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
But just to maybe bounce through a few of these, like the Ghostbusters, I guess, sequel reboot, the one with Paul Rudd, that was supposed to be July. That's been bumped to next year in March, which is not nearly as good of a slot as July. March 5th is not normally where they put the mega hits.
Right.
But I'm guessing you run out of the good slots. It's like a game of musical chairs. The Venom sequel was actually supposed to be this October. That got bumped to next June. The Minions Prequel. This is what's the name of the main series that this was spun off of?
Despicable Me.
So how many total movies in the Despicable Me extended universe now exist?
I could not tell you. Is this the second
Minions movie? Is this a sequel to the Minions?
I think this is the second Minions movie, but I'm not positive.
There could be 2 of these. There could be 20 of these.
Okay.
I don't know.
People, our listeners who have parents, know exactly how many of these there are. I realize you can tell that I do not have kids, but the Minions, that was supposed to be July, when the entire world would be taken over by Minions merchandise. Instead, it will be July of next year. You have gotten a year reprieve from seeing those freaking yellow things on every product, every ad, every hateful Facebook meme.
I was about to say every fucking racist Facebook meme from your aunt.
They have all new images, all new extremely blurry JPEGs of Minions to grab and put some quote on there about, well, I don't care if you're black, white, or yellow. I don't see why we need affirmative action, says the Minion.
It's just like this frowning Minion with its arms crossed.
And again, if there's any listeners out there whose Facebook wall is not full of hateful Minion memes, your families are from a different part of the country than ours were from. But I also envy you. Morbius, this is a MCU movie, right? I am utterly unfamiliar with that character.
It's Sony's Spider-Man universe movie.
Oh, okay. I am so confused about how those rights work and who holds what now.
Sony is clinging to the rights of Spider-Man, obviously, because they keep making money off of it.
This is like Sinister Six? Is that the idea?
I hope so.
Is Morbius one of them?
But yeah, I imagine they'll probably end up doing a big Sinister Six Avengers-style movie with like Venom and Morbius and maybe Michael Keaton, because he pops up in the Morbius trailer.
Right. It's weird that Draculas are now in the MCU after this.
Dracula himself is in the MCU.
Yeah.
I mean, in the comics, anyway.
They were talking about Blade. They're going to do Blade. So I think the MCU is going to get real spooky real soon. Yep. It's going to get real weird.
Full of Draculas.
Yeah.
Either way, people who were looking forward to that was supposed to come in July. That's been bounced to next year, next March. Again, that's another March date. You could almost see the ones they don't have quite as much confidence in, because they're not giving them the prime spots. Because again, July 31st is still right in the heart of the summer blockbuster season. March 19th is not. Kids are still in school, right? Assuming civilization has not collapsed by March of 2021. The Chris Rock Saw movie, Spiral.
This one fascinates me. I'm very interested to see this.
Oh,
film.
yeah. I'll watch the hell out of this. The first Saw movie, the perfect example of a clever, compact, low-budget horror that did not need a sequel. It's like a perfect little thing. It's got a little framing device. It's clever. It's, again, it's contained. It's what a small-budget horror movie should be. It's inventive. It's gruesome. And then they've made 37 more of them. Each one retcons the events of the first one to where now I don't know what's happening when I watched the first one. There's been so many twists and turns and betrayals, and it's like, so was everyone in that room working for Jigsaw the whole time? I've totally lost track.
Yeah, I think Cary Elwes is now. Like, he builds...
Is he?
Yeah, I think the reveal in the last one is that he's been building Jigsaw's traps for him.
The whole time?
That is exhausting.
Yeah, they keep retconning it. It's not just a twist. It's a twist that, actually, he was behind the events of Saw 2 because Jigsaw died of cancer a long time ago. But they'll, like, add new footage that shows him in scenes that he clearly was not.
Right,
it's
he could not possibly have been present.
He was just out of frame when this happened, and it's a trick that I'm sure was fascinating the first time they did it. But I don't know how many Saw movies there are.
There are at least as many as there are Minions movies. It's the Minions of horror movies.
So, but anyway, we'll have another year. It's supposed to have come out already in May. It's been bumped to May next year. That Sopranos movie, maybe there's somebody excited for this out there. That was a TV show that was all about James Gandolfini and his performance and the nuance he added to this character. And this is a prequel that, to my brain, just hits as mafia stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know,
right.
Maybe, but that's supposed to come out in September. That's been moved to March next year. Again, March 12th. Maybe not anticipating that being a monster hit.
Well,
I'm sort of amazed it's a theatrical release like that.
Well, I was about to say, if only there's a format that they could release it on.
Drop that shit on HBO
on
Max.
The network
you clowns.
Man, that's a great...
It's very strange.
That did not occur to me until just now. Why wouldn't they just dump that to HBO Max?
I have no idea.
The Deadwood movie, they did that with the Deadwood movie before the pandemic, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it just made sense to do it.
Nobody's going to need to see this on the big screen. It's not. It's not a Godzilla movie. You don't need to enjoy it on a 40-foot IMAX. I don't know. I mean, it's not like we're used to seeing the Sopranos universe that way. It's like, no, it's this one. It takes place in space. And then there's some of these that don't have dates. The Purge movie, the Forever Purge. And please, God, tell me the premise is not, it's the Purge, only instead of one day a year, it's all the time.
That's what I'm gathering from the title.
Because that's literally nothing. You've taken the clever premise of the Purge, a paper-thin premise that should not have even supported a 20-minute Twilight Zone episode, and are now in their, I don't know, fifth movie.
The fourth?
Where there's some guy in the writer's room is like, what if it was the Purge, but every day? Yeah, so you mean a dystopia, a post-apocalypse movie that's an entire genre. It's like, no, but like there's no law, man. Like imagine a movie universe where there's not like laws ever.
On a previous Hypecast, Katie Golden accidentally pitched the idea of doing an animal purge, where we just, for one day, we just let all the zoo animals out. And frankly, that's a better premise for a Purge sequel at this point. Instead of Forever Purge.
My now that you mention it, my ideal Purge premise is it's the Purge, only you get like 20 minutes. All crime is legal for 20 minutes. That's it. Because the 24 hours thing never made sense, because that's enough time to like embezzle all of the money from your employer. You would just completely crush the economy, because it's not just violent crime that's legal. And in fact, the violent crime being legal is the one that people would least want to do. The one that everyone's going to want to do is immediately just like scam the government out of a bunch of money and, in something. It's like, hey, the exact day we closed the deal, that was on Purge Day. Sorry.
Right. And like,
you just paid me $4 billion to build a bridge in a place that has no water.
And that would take you like seconds. So it's like 1 minute into the Purge, you're like, man, I got 23 hours to kill.
Yeah, credit card fraud, anything. So yeah, it's much funnier if you get 20 minutes to, and then the movie, in movie form, it's about all the prep work that goes into it. Knowing that we got 20 minutes to carry out this heist, and then it's not going to be legal anymore. Anyway.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
That was moved from July 10th to, I don't know.
Yeah, that checks out considering what the world is like right now.
Yeah.
Where they're like, we're not sure when people are going to want to see this movie.
It's like that Netflix movie, The Last Days of American Crime, which also currently has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What is it about?
It's about the government has developed a frequency that will basically brainwash everyone into being unable to commit crimes. And so it's like a gang of heisters trying to pull off one last score before the government broadcasts the signal.
Oh, I'm watching that tonight.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the other part of that, Dave, is that it's 2.5 hours long.
Oh, God. Why? Why would they do that? That's incredible.
Oh yeah,
and we should have. Yeah, okay. We should have watched that before the episode, because I didn't know that was a thing. But it sounds.
Oh yeah.
That sounds amazing, and I'm going to look it up, because we're going to talk a little bit later about the struggles of getting like an indie movie made. I know I'm going to Google that, and it's going to turn out they got like $65 million to make that movie.
Yeah.
And the guys, it's going to be somebody who's never directed anything before, but certain people can just.
It's I actually looked it up because I was curious. It's the guy who directed Taken 2 and 3. The esteemed director of the Taken sequels.
Yeah, some of the worst directed movies.
Right, that famous the sequence of him climbing a fence.
Yeah, if people don't know what we're talking about, it's on YouTube. Where what did they do? Like 30 edits, 30 cuts to get,
an
because
astonishing
Liam Neeson,
number of cuts. Yeah,
yeah. I guess he's barely ambulatory, but they have to edit these in a way that makes him look like a superhero. So they have to cut so many times to make him look agile.
It's like stop motion animation.
It's just it's disorienting.
Yeah.
And then somebody explained to me what's going on with the New Mutants, a movie that they shot so long ago that Maisie Williams is like 18 years old in it, and she's now in her 30s.
Right.
What's the deal with that?
It was supposed to come out in March, and then of course, or April, and then everything went to shit. So now they're bumping it back yet again.
Yeah, but April was not the original release date.
It was supposed to come out in like 2016.
Yeah, it was a long time ago when we were talking about.
This movie was announced in 2014.
Yeah, it says. They said an April 2018 release in my mind. Then it was delayed for reshoots that never happened.
Yeah.
It really feels like they're just going to come out and be like, look, there's no film.
This movie doesn't exist.
Well, no.
Yeah, this movie doesn't exist. It's been like a wacky series of mishaps behind the scenes.
No, there was a whole thing, because we wrote about it. It cracked, I think, because that trailer came out, that first trailer came out back in the Obama administration, that it was like a horror movie. It was cut in that rhythm of a any of these, like a Blumhouse horror movie, and it's like, oh, that's cool. It's like the concept of mutants with superpowers as a scary thing in society. And I guess there was rumors that it actually was not a horror movie. They just cut the trailer that way because horror movies are popular or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were talking about having to go back and, well, maybe we should shoot it like a horror movie if that's what people want.
Oh, what a bummer.
So yeah, there was talk about like reshooting to totally change the tone of it, I guess. But man, and again, just dump it to streaming. That's where no one's going to go see this at this point. You don't need to spend $50 million on your freaking ad campaign and printing up celluloid reels for the theaters that still use film. Like, just dump it to streaming. It's fine.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think this is so old. I'm pretty sure we did a Cracked Response about the trailer.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we were all working on Cracked. But yeah, the world has changed in so many ways that it's like once something's been on the shelf long enough, just throw it up on Amazon. People will buy it. If you watch anything, it's fine. You'll make some money back. But there's no reason to, because again, you release something in theaters, something else that may not be clear to all the listeners. If you're putting a movie in theaters, you're adding an extra $50 million because you now got to advertise it. You got to pay, like it's there's all these extra fees. Where if you're putting it up to streaming, it's a much easier thing. It's because you're just uploading it to streaming. It's
zero cost distribution.
Yeah. So it's not risk free. It's not a thing. It's like, well, we'll put it out in theaters and see what people think about it. It's like, no, it's very clear. You have no idea what's going on with this movie, or unless it just never got completed. I don't know.
I wonder if it has to do with just Fox. I mean, I know it has to do with Disney buying Fox, but I wonder if this movie is very, very much in the old X-Men universe to a point where they're looking at it and they're like, this is not... The longer we wait, the less relevant it gets. Mm-hmm. And like maybe we can change it a little to make it feel like it's in its own universe. Like I'm wondering if it has to do with the fact that the Singer X-Men stuff is long over.
Oh yeah.
And it's just hanging there in this weird void now.
Well, there's like a bunch of stuff that Deadpool has made fun of since.
Yeah.
That they like, well, we're not going to put that in there and have everybody clowning us for it. We got to... I don't know. It's just a string of cliches.
Yeah.
As of right now, it's supposed to come out this August.
All right.
Oh, okay. The article we had here had it to TBD, but if it's truly coming in August, you would think we'd have seen a newer trailer by now.
There's a new poster that says August 28th on the bottom. I mean, it's like the fifth poster they've done.
Okay. I will be curious if they make. All right, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
So in reference to what you said earlier, that it seemed like we were just going to do over 2020 and 2021, that is more true than what people think, because all of these movies have been pushed into next summer, and because next summer's movies should be shooting right now, but they're not because of pandemic. A bunch of stuff that you may have thought was coming out next summer has been bumped either out of the summer or else out into the next year, like the Doctor Strange, what's it called? Into the Multiverse of Madness.
Directed by Sam Raimi, right?
Yeah.
That got, looking forward to that one. That got ejected out of next year. That is now 2022, which feels like that's such a long
We're not
time
even going to be alive in 2022.
Yeah.
The Indiana Jones movie that I did not know was coming next July has gotten bumped to July 2022. Has that got Harrison Ford in it?
Yeah. Do you know who's directing it?
No.
I do.
Not Spielberg.
Yes.
That's all you need to know.
It's James Mangold.
Yeah. It's not even Spielberg anymore. I don't know why they're doing this. Why are they doing this? I can't believe it.
So
what is Harrison
Google
Ford
how
do?
old Harrison Ford will be in 2022.
It's a fun exercise for all you listeners at home.
I mean, he'll do a lot of things sitting, I guess. He's 77 now.
Yeah, so he'll be pushing. He'll be close to 80.
Yeah.
Just that with that theme music playing and he can barely move. Crashing another airplane.
Just crashing airplanes.
So I'm gonna give you three options here, and you tell me which one is the least depressing. One, if he's just relegated to a desk and they clearly are handing it off to a younger Indiana, and Harrison Ford is just like they keep him out of the action altogether. Two, if it's just straight up No, just like the last one. He's doing all the stunts. He's doing all of the Indiana Jones stuff at his age. Or 3, where they do some sort of hybrid thing where they make you, most of the movie he's out of the action, but there's like an inspirational scene where in the finale he puts on the hat and the jacket and has to like fight a bunch of Nazis and ramp a motorcycle off of a cliff or whatever,
Sphinx or something.
And it's that Robert De Niro CGI stuntman where it's like his face glued on. It's either his body barely walking, or else it's a cartoon Harrison Ford. I don't know what's the least. It seems like every possible option here is sad in its own way.
Yeah.
I think Red Letter Media actually made this case, and I have to agree with them. I think a reboot is actually, Indiana Jones is one of the few properties where you might get away with a reboot and people would like it. Their argument being that, like, Harrison Ford's amazing, obviously, in those movies, but he's wearing a costume. It's the hat, it's the whip, it's the leather jacket. Like, those are such big, iconic parts of the character where it's like we don't really care about him when he takes that stuff off. Like, I don't know if we want to see an old Indiana Jones. I think it's like James Bond, where it's like they could have, if they wanted to, been making Indiana Jones movies for the last 20 years, 30 years.
Right, and the point they made, and I realize this is like the 4th time we've referenced Red Letter Media in this podcast, but the point they made is that you don't watch an Indiana Jones movie to be reminded of your own mortality. You don't watch, it takes place in this, he's this larger than life fantasy character, because as they mentioned, you see him endure punishment that no human could endure. He, swings off of trees with a whip and then lands at a speeding truck and then it explodes. He's not a person. He's a larger than life, like this mythical figure. To watch an old and creaky Indiana Jones like making jokes about his prostate, that's the opposite of what this is. Where yes, age discrimination is fine. Right. James Bond is always like 40 years old. He's not a young man. You don't need teen James Bond, but he's not old. He's always this middle-aged, super handsome dude. And, the franchise has been going on for 60 years or whatever, and it's fine. Keep swapping them out. This is the one job where age discrimination is okay. And Indiana Jones is not an old man. He's just not. That's not the character. The character is ageless. Just like Superman. You don't need old Superman. Superman doesn't age. And it's fine.
Right. He's a Superman.
Spider-Man is always a teenager. That's okay. That's the deal. Audiences are fine with that. And you can't tell me there's no one else on Earth. Now, someone will mention in your comments, if you have comments, that they are effectively doing what you're talking about, because they're making an Uncharted movie franchise with Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. And that's just Indiana Jones. It's Indiana Jones only. Yeah, it's literally just Indiana Jones. Now, I do hope that movie features these 40-minute long segments of cover-based shooting.
Yeah.
Where you're just endlessly mowing down 65...
like hundreds of men.
Of other people who committed the crime of trying to get to the artifact before you did, to where you're committing one of the largest mass shootings in world history. The headlines would not be anything about someone having discovered this ancient grail. It would just be, 165 people left dead in Thailand after
Madman leaves trail of
after
bodies.
A mass, the worst shooting in the mass shooting in world history. And then they were somewhere 8 paragraphs in the story. It's like, also some artifacts were missing from the pyramid. Yeah. But it's like, also, mostly
he stole some golden coffin or some shit, but mostly it's the 600 man he shot.
Yeah, we don't know if this is terrorism related, if this was an incel terror attack. We were looking at Nathan Drake's at this man's social media. There does appear to be some anti-woman sentiment on there. We think it may have been But anyway, so the point being that is coming, and I don't know. That's not on our list. I don't know where.
There's
It was supposed to start shooting,
right.
So that'll probably be delayed by another year.
That was probably going to be 2022, right? Because the special effects in these movies take a year, right?
Yeah. I don't think I'm the first to point this out, but doing the math, that Crystal Skull takes place in 1957, and that came out in 2008. So this would take place roughly 6 years before Star Wars comes out. So it's just the snake eating its own tail.
Yeah, nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see Indiana Jones in the 70s.
I mean, I kind of do.
I mean, are the bad guys the Soviets?
They are in Crystal
Probably.
Skull, and I don't know who else they'd be.
Really? They were? Man, why was I mentally imagining Nazis in that movie? I guess it doesn't make sense you'd be fighting Nazis in 1953. I guess I don't know. Because again, the morality of him casually gunning down people who aren't Nazis, that's why Nazis make such great cannon fodder because nobody feels bad about it, but it's
right.
I don't know. That's why I'll be fascinated to see how they handle, because the killing in the Uncharted movies is just grotesque. It's actually kind of hard to enjoy them because you're just going to this third world country, and the reason you're murdering these people, it's pretty specious reasoning, where it's just like, oh, the rival archaeologist, his camp is over there. We've got to get in and recover the file from his tent. And the only way to do that is to kill every single person in a 5-mile square radius.
It's not even like this belongs in a museum. It's like this belongs in my house.
Yeah.
Like they're not doing it for any good reason.
And I get that he's supposed to be kind of an anti-hero. He's like the snarky hard drinking type. It's like, well, yeah. But also, he's killed like 300 people in the course of trying to recover this thing. And some of these people were just like, wow, they're mercenaries. It's like, well, okay, but I'm pretty sure you started this conflict.
Right.
Like each one of these firefights, I initiated it. I had the option of leaving. Anyway.
So yeah.
The
Uncharted,
the Batman movie that's going to be next summer, that they did not move out of next year. They just bumped it back to fall. But Jesus Christ, June 25th, that's when you run a Batman movie.
Yeah, October's weird.
October is weird it's Batman. It's the Robert Pattinson Batman.
They put Batman v Superman out in March.
I think the lesson we're slowly going to learn
it doesn't matter, really.
It doesn't matter anymore.
I guess. Yeah. And I know they've had some huge hits that came out in March. Yeah, because the whole thing with the summer movie season is supposed to be that the kids are out of school, so that it's just easier to get them to go during the week because it's so you're not just piling up grosses on the weekends. But kids these days they don't care about school anyway. So
yeah.
But the Spider-Man movie that will have the word home in it, but I don't know if that they've come up with a title for it. It's the sequel to what was the last one? Far From Home, Home Away From Home.
Yep.
That got bumped into the holiday season in November next year. Mission Impossible 7 got bumped from July to November, which means Mission Impossible 8, which they're shooting back to back, got bumped from July 2022 to November 2022. But I realize no one listening to this is actually going to remember any of those dates. The point being that there's an echo effect here that's fascinating because all of these big movies got pushed back, and so it shoved all those. It's going to be a domino effect that it's going to last for like the next 5 years.
Yeah, for sure. We just need to do 2020 over again.
Yeah, let's just do it over again. I mean, it doesn't change it, but it's it'll feel better, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll all feel a little bit better about it.
Yeah.
Has this been the weirdest year of your lives? Not the worst necessarily. Has this been for each of you? Would you say it's been the weirdest?
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's not even halfway over, is it?
Well, it's not going to get less weird. If nothing else interesting, we've still got an election. Like, this election is not going to be normal. So, but no, even if absolutely nothing occurs, there's so many layers to it because it's not just pandemic. It's a pandemic and then the unique way that it had to be handled, like canceling the Olympics, canceling all the sports. There may not be a baseball season at all. They still have not got an agreement, and it's June. Baseball is supposed to start in late March. In the NBA, they're talking about doing they're restarting the season next month in like a bubble, in like a sealed off campus of buildings that no one's allowed to come and go, and just playing in an empty stadium. And then all of this happening with Trump as president, like things were already weird in the culture already. And so it's just all these layers of where it's Trump and then the pandemic, and you can't leave the house, and so you can't escape all of the stuff because you can't take a break from it because you can't go do anything else. And again, I'm not. None of us here on this conversation have gotten the worst of it. I'm not saying it's the worst year of my life because you people have things personally, but in terms of the weirdest, I almost feel detached from it. It feels dreamlike. Because it's at this point, nothing that could happen would surprise me. I mentioned I did Jack's podcast, the Daily Zeitgeist, and mentioned the whole thing with where the U.S. Air Force came out like a month ago and was, it looks like aliens are harassing our fighter jets.
Yeah.
Let us know if you know anything about that. It looks like if you know what planet they're from, whatever, give us, drop us a line. It's like,
you happen to have their list of demands. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. And it was like the next day that was gone because everybody assumed it was just, this is probably a misunderstanding or something. I can remember other periods in my life that would have been a pretty big story because
now it's just like we just don't have time.
We don't have time for the aliens right now.
Aliens.
Come back later.
You guys have the X-Files podcast. The entire premise of that show was that there are these elements in the government that believe in UFOs and that the government's like trying to suppress that belief. And here in the year of our Lord 2020, the government is like releasing this looks like aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know what it is. The way these things are moving, it seems it's probably from another dimension. I don't know.
Yeah, like, all right. Crowdsource this. Anybody else have any ideas?
Yeah, in the meantime, the average people, like all the UFO believers, are like, nah, this got to be a trick. That doesn't look like aliens to me. It's like, all right.
It reminds me of a scene from the X-Files where Mulder finally infiltrates and meets a government, a real higher up in the government, and he thinks he's going to get information off of him, and the guy goes to Mulder and he's like, so are there aliens? And it's the realization of fucked if they know too, which I love. I love the idea that the government would just be like, I don't know, we've been seeing shit. Anybody know about this?
Somebody check on this.
Someone check on this.
Oh,
I know someone's paying attention to this.
I can't. For secrecy reasons, I can't say who this story is about. But this person had applied for a writing job for an ongoing series, and they were doing the interview, and the guy is they asked him or now, are you a fan? Have you watch it? It's like, oh yeah, I've been I watch every season. Especially eager to see what blank was this twist that had occurred. I'm eager to see where that goes. And the interviewer said to him, well, what are some ideas you have on that? Meaning, of course, that they did not on their end have a solution, that was part of what he was being hired to do, was to write what that twist means. And that was
that's such a bummer.
Yeah, that was a deflating moment because it's like, oh yeah. Sometimes you have to just throw that crap out there, and then you sit down in the writer's room like, okay, so we brought this character back from the dead. So how did they not die when the thing exploded? Like with Sherlock, when they did not write a solution to that. They had to just make one up on the fly, and then they just chose not to. Anyway.
I think I got to move us along here.
This happens on every podcast I appear on.
Oh, no, it happens all the time on Hypecast.
And I do not stop it.
I guess we should name off some more producers. I was going to suggest we talk about PS5 a little bit, but we've gone on for quite a while. I'll pay off what I was saying earlier. There's some mild nerd rage over the fact that there was not a new God of War game announced, but there were a Spider-Man game starring Miles Morales and a Horizon Zero Dawn sequel. So like, well, we don't get God of War, but we get these SJW games.
They just got a God of War. I haven't gotten a damn Horizon in what feels like forever.
Yeah. So there's the Wonder Woman 1984 dummies we can make fun of, I guess, if you encounter them in the wild.
Have either of you been to the Last of Us 2 subreddit?
No.
Okay.
I'm trying to avoid the spoilers, and I know
it's full of spoilers, but it's also been taken over by the actual alt-right, and I mean the hardcore.
Oh, good.
Like hardcore, this is cultural Marxism, and this game is intended. So they're like they're like finding ways to harass the creators of the game. And it's all these memes about, because I guess once the plot leaked, and I'm not going to go into any details because I know people don't want that. But I guess a woman kills a man at some point, and they decided this was this is like the future liberals want, and it is terrifying. It's like the outright actual. Nazis have shown up, and there's an entire subreddit that if you just think The Last of Us 2 subreddit, that's what it's called, you will be shocked. That is, just go to the Last of Us without the 2 on the end subreddit. That's where the normal people are just talking about the game.
Okay.
It is literally like it's terrifying if you go in there. It's frightening.
When does that come out, by the way?
It comes out the 16th, I think. Very soon.
Okay.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Soon. Yeah. God damn. Yeah, the Miles Morales, I assume they're going to define that as like literal white genocide. Yeah. Even though the previous game set it up to, like, I don't know, screw those people. Yeah. I'm excited for Horizon. I want to be a cat with a backpack on.
Yeah.
That game, Stray, has made me more excited than a lot of things have in a while.
And there'll be, and you'll, obviously you've got, the console comes out, they come out this holiday season, is that right?
Yeah.
I assume, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there'll be plenty of opportunities to, it's, from the initial unveiling, the two things that alarmed me, one, suspiciously did not mention the price of this machine, and decided they're going to keep that under their hat for a while. That rarely is good news. Usually it means
the rumors I've heard is $750.
Yeah, it is a high-end piece of hardware. It is. Yes. It is a high-end. It really is, and they've even got the second version of it that doesn't have a disk drive. That is them trying to shave cost off of the hardware. Like if you don't absolutely need a disk drive, the physical media drive, then here's one that's a little bit more affordable. And the other thing was that Horizon had no date attached to it, not even 2022, so that makes me think it's not launch, or else they would have said launch. And the stuff that was coming out 2022, it said 2022 or 2021. It had no date at all, so that worries me that it's in that.
We might be a few years away from
we
that
have
still. Yeah,
all sorts of things planned for this game. Yeah, so all that stuff where it's like she's going under the ocean, and it's I'm worried that the trailer 18 months from now, it's like, well, yeah, we dropped that bit. So I've been burned so many times, guys, from watching these. I obsessively watch these unveilings, and if E3 was still happening, I would watch that. And there are so many crazy promises made that I don't know. The stuff that's coming out, stuff that's around the corner, the launch stuff is, that stuff is made. Like, what they're showing you is what you're going to get. Something that's still in the middle of production, they could change so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows at this point. It is definitely like, I'm trying not to think about it too much.
Yeah, there's other stuff going on.
I'll
drop that fucking grand on a machine when I come to that bridge.
Yeah, and I will.
Oh yeah, I will do it.
I
will do it, and I won't think a second thought about it.
Mm-hmm. It's technically a business expense.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's get the rest of the producers.
Producers. All right. I want to thank Ozzy. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ozzy. Big thank you to Tom. Quasi Dangerous Levels of Hype K. Thank you, Tom. Thank you to AJ. Equal amount of thank you to Sweet Meat. Mm. Thank you, Sweet Meat. And of course, there's Tip Drizzle. Thank you, as always, Tip Drizzle, for making me say that.
Oh, yeah.
Every time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Frank Lee Amish. Thank you, Frank Lee Amish. Tom?
Thank you to Mrs. Voitis. Thanks to the ghost of Dave Thomas. Aaron Burser, thank you. David Knife Boot Hinson, MBA CPA, thank you. Christopher Robert Sparts, Esquire. Topher Bobby, thank you there.
Topher.
Jason, you want to grab the last couple here?
Where did you leave off on? I'm sorry.
On
Christopher Robert Sparks.
Yeah, that was the last one I read.
Mackenzie, Righteous Hand of the Lizard People, chill. I do not respect long usernames. I'm sorry. You can keep adding words, but that's the whole point. Is they try to come up with something clever that's only a few words long. Funky J and Pie Guy.
Thank you to our delightful producers.
Yeah.
So Dave.
What is
Dave?
it, Tom?
Why don't David?
What is it, Tom?
Why don't you tell us about a movie that deserves more hype?
Okay. You know what, Tom? I think I'll do that for you. For everyone.
Yeah.
This is a movie called Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway. It is currently streaming, although Jason, you pointed out it's no longer on Amazon Prime. It's on YouTube. It's on VOD. It's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not many reviews though. At first glance, it seems like it's similar to the Heidi movie, mm-hmm. but it has a very, very low budget, and is apparently makes more sense than it comes off. Although I'm gonna have to watch it to be sure. It's a very weird no budget film. It's about two agents who are CIA agents who are guinea pigs in an experiment where they're going into they're fighting a Soviet computer virus mm-hmm. named Stalin in a VR universe. Apparently while wearing the masks of Richard Pryor and Robert Redford in like stop motion animation.
Yeah, but it's live action. It's a really interesting look.
It is. For a no budget film, it looks kind of like cool. It's this director's second film. The first one is apparently really good too. It looks just really weird and trippy. But as the review that I put on Variety says, it says with a dedicated internal consistency.
Yeah, that's important for a movie like this.
That is important. I was like, that was what sold me, which is like, oh, okay. It apparently isn't just like, this is so random. It apparently amounts to something, and that's huge, because when you watch the trailer, you're like, this looks really cool, but I don't trust it.
Right, the trailer is kind of indecipherable. It just sort of looks neat.
Yeah, and so that's where it falls on in the movies that deserve more hype, where it's just like, this looks fucking crazy.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Are you guys going to see this?
I might check it out. I'm not 100% sold on it.
More than I want to watch this movie, I would want to watch a documentary about the making of this movie. Because true. I went and Googled and found this was a Kickstarter movie, and they only raised $15,000.
Jeez.
Wow.
And then shot it in Ethiopia and I think 4 other countries. And they were talking about on the Kickstarter that there's a rule that in Ethiopia the money has to be local or something, so there were these hoops they were having to jump through. It sounds like the making of this thing was an absolute adventure, and that it is a miracle that it exists, because all of this was in service to the weirdest possible. Just everything about it is just, it's weird and quirky and all that, but it sounds like what went into the making of it, and what I was saying earlier about how, you know, if you've successfully made a movie, you're kind of a hero. And if you've successfully made a movie like this, where you're just the amount of clever little tricks you have to pull off to make a $15,000 movie look like anything.
Yeah.
You are a clever, hardworking person, because that stuff has to be overcome with, inventiveness and hard work and doing things the hard way and doing stuff yourself that would normally be offloaded to staff if you had a big production. So it is, even if this were the worst movie on earth, and it sounds like it's not, it would be laudable that it exists at all.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
The director's previous film, Crumbs, which I remember the trailer to, I haven't seen yet, also was shot in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
It's also surreal. It's about a post-apocalyptic landscape with like a weird hovering spacecraft over everything, and then like I think there's like a tiny Superman. It's every one of this guy's films. When you describe him, it sounds like you're describing a dream that you had. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of hope this person never gets a lot of money, but also I kind of hope he gets like $100 million to see what happens.
There's been a pretty reliable cycle where if you make some hit indie movie, then you just get a Marvel movie right after that.
Right.
Whether you're a director or an actor or whatever, like that's your reward, is that you don't have to make art anymore. You can.
Right.
It's like you are now, because like Josh Trank made Chronicle on nothing. Like that movie is like a $2 million budget or something like that. And then it's like, all right, now you've got Fantastic Four. You have proven you can. Which in reality, no, you've not at all proven that. It's actually completely different making the movie. So, this is this.
Colin Trevorrow went from indie film to Jurassic World.
Yeah.
And
then and you'll see these actors. You'll see them some small movie and think, oh, that's so cool. That guy, I'd never seen that guy before. And then you'll go to their Wikipedia, and it's like, oh, he's now the bad guy in the new whatever, Doctor Strange or whatever. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, that was his reward for he made a great heartfelt indie movie that changed my life, and his reward is that he will be playing Dr. Roboto in Spider-Man 4. I'm like, all right,
right. It's Mickey Rourke's comeback with the wrestler, and they're like, how'd you like to be a whip guy?
How'd you like to be a Russian whip dude in the worst Iron Man movie?
Yeah, that's your reward. You did it.
Congratulations, Oscar Isaac. Here's a shitty X-Men movie and some crap Star Wars films.
Yeah, you're a character in Star Wars we have no plan for.
Right. You barely exist.
By the last movie, we're just going to be sitting there thinking, well, he's got to say something in this scene. It's
right.
Oh God, I'm a little surprised that no one has made any YouTube videos about how bad these new Star Wars movies are. I feel like someone should have called attention to that, because I felt like all three of the movies had some flaws that really have gone unaddressed.
Yeah. I wish somebody would be out there pointing out that these actually aren't any good.
Yeah, it's just been universal praise. But if you watch them a second time, you'll find some flaws.
Oh, man. Well, I think that's a sode. We've gone on long enough.
We did it. We almost hit 2 hours. I think we've done a 2 hour before, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm certain we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to plug my books before I go.
For sure.
We're setting you up.
Saying thanks so much for doing the episode. And do you have anything you want to plug?
Well, yes, because I quit my job in March thinking that, well, surely the world's not gonna fall apart. Like now's the perfect time to just become a full-time novel writer, because what will people want to do other than just buy expensive novels and enjoy literature? So please, if you have money to spare, spend it on anything else. If you like my books, the new one is called Zoe Punches the Future in the Dick, and it's coming in October. It is up for pre-order now everywhere books are sold. Please, if your local bookstore has somehow survived the coronavirus, pre-order it there. It's very easy. You just go to the sidewalk outside and shout in through the door from a safe distance, I want to pre-order Zoe Punches the Future in the deck. Scream it as loud as you possibly can, and they will be thrilled to do it for you. If somehow they have survived this, which they almost certainly have not.
I think when there's if we're in a smoldering wasteland, the one thing that people are going to need is books, right? Because it's not
right.
You don't need electricity.
Yeah, you've seen the Book of Eli, man.
Yeah, you stock up on those books.
Get all kinds of books.
If anything, people should buy many copies that they can then use for bartering in the future.
Yeah, or toilet paper if that happens again. If for some reason, yeah.
Dave, tell them about what we got going on.
Okay. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You can check out some exclusive podcasts on there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, and Fox Mulder is a maniac. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. I think we do have a store, but I don't know. Everything's on fire right now.
Charities. We said this last time. I'm sure there's some charities.
There's some good causes you could be donating to right now.
Yeah,
like Jason's book.
Yeah, no, it is understood among all of us. We do this as a job and to pay the rent. We fully, all of us, everyone in media understands. If you're struggling to pay the rent, please do not buy a wacky T-shirt from us.
Yeah,
but
I've gotten people like message and be like, "I'm sorry, I can't support your Patreon this month. I'm having rent issues," and it's like, do you think I'm going to be mad at you? Like,
yeah.
No,
it's fine.
It's
man.
I'll be mad at you, Dave.
Yeah,
that's the good cop, bad cop that every Patreon needs, where one uses like the carrot and the other is the stick. But no, your support, anyone who creates things for a living, your support is appreciated more than you could possibly imagine. If there is a down month because the world has fallen apart, we are not mad at you. It is understandable. It is a risk of the privilege of being able to make stuff like this for a living, that there may be a time when you're not the most important thing in someone's life.
It's I've had to. It's taken a long time for me to come to terms with that, but finally realized that I'm not the most important thing in everyone's life.
It's true.
Yeah. Even these $150 million movies could not get shown to audiences, and some of these just gotten. If Artemis Fowl could not. Cannot reach its audience in these, and that's a freaking Disney production, then yeah, it's understandable that some of us smaller operations will also struggle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Let's say goodbye, everyone.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can follow him on Twitter at @thecorlew, CORLEW, and find more music at shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our artwork is produced by Justin Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at @JustinTBrown, and find more of his artwork at artnessbyjustinbrown.com and justinbrown.info.